See, God bless you. God bless you. God bless you, everyone. God bless you. God bless you. I am Apostle Hellena Horsley, and this is Thursday Night Live at 9. Just want to make sure my technical issues are fixed. Yes, thank you, Lord. So anyway, good to see you here on tonight. This is Thursday Night Live at 9. We are dealing with relationships, and your very most important relationship in the whole wide world is your relationship with God the Father, our Heavenly Father. And so we are so glad to see you here on tonight, and we praise God for all that He is doing. And so, again, this is the 40 Marriages That Must Not Hold. We are going through a book by Dr. D.K. Olukoya from Nigeria, Africa. And hey, daughter, good to see you there on YouTube. Good to see you. Going through the book, 40 Marriages That Must Not Hold. And we are at number 31. Marriage number 31. This is called the panic marriage tonight. Panic marriage. Oh, my goodness. Don't let nobody make you put you in a panic, or don't you be panicked. Don't worry about any of that. You don't want to panic about being married, okay? God bless you tonight there on Instagram. Good to see you there. You do not want to be panicking about wanting to be married. So tonight we're going to go directly there, okay? We're going to go directly to the book. And again, this is marriage number 31 out of 40. And so we are almost near the ending of it. And so here we are, the panic marriage. The panic marriage. It says, when a lady begins to be worried and panic that all her sisters and brothers, hey, God bless you, Yellow Beauty, that all her sisters and brothers are married, and she tells a man to get her pregnant so that she can also get married, this kind of marriage would not work. Now, this is crazy. She tells a man to get her pregnant so that she can also get married. This kind of, it won't work. This is somebody panicking only because her brothers and sisters are getting married. That's crazy. Marriage is not an avenue for competition. See, you can't be comparing your life with somebody else's life. The Bible talks about not comparing yourself with others. It's not a wise thing to do, to compare, to combine, to interpret your life based upon what other people have decided to do in their life. 2 Corinthians 10 and 12 says, for we dare not make ourselves of the number or compare ourselves with some that commend themselves. Mhm. But they measuring themselves by themselves and comparing themselves among themselves are not wise. Not wise. So it's not he that commended himself is approved, but whom the Lord commended. This is what, listen, you can't just make things happen in your life. God bless you, Paula. God bless you, cousin. You can't just make things happen in your life based upon competition and comparison. Okay, that's not a wise thing to do. It's not healthy for you, and it's not healthy for even the family that you're trying to form together. You know, you have a lot of people who have had children, and they think that even having the children is enough to make the person want to marry them, or they'll manipulate the person and say, you know, you need to marry me because we have these children. That's never the answer. That's never the answer, because here you are panicking, and because you're comparing your life with somebody else's, and two wrongs don't make a right. Two wrongs do not make a right. So here it is. Marriage is not an avenue for competition. This is not your place of competition. Some people are competing because, say, for instance, the person that they're with has had a previous relationship, and they have had children as well from the previous person that they were with. And so sometimes, out of being in competition with the previous persons, that their boyfriend or girlfriend that they were dating, and they may have had children by it, never married or anything. Here you are competing, trying to get in there, trying to be the one that this person will marry. That won't work. You're only doing it because you're hoping to gain that person. And you're not even thinking. You're not even thinking about how this is going to affect you, how this is going to affect your child that you're trying to. So people get pregnant just so they can try to get married, to compete against the other girlfriend or the previous girlfriend or whatever that is. You want to see who's going to be the winning one. That is so crazy. If you already know that there's a problem, and you already have your own insecurities, why stay with that person? Why try to create a family with the person hoping that they're going to marry you? That's just absurd. You're in the planning stage. So here you're already with somebody. You found out, or you already knew they were with somebody, but you were so determined to try to get them. You were so determined to try to be with them and try to get them away from the other person. This is crazy. So 40 marriages that must not hold, the panic marriage. It's not an avenue for competition. And most people that I know who try to do that, and they have married out of the competition, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. All they're doing is arguing because, number one, you really never really loved the person anyway. You thought you did. You just had a rival and you just wanted to see who was going to win. That's the worst thing. That's bad. Why would you want to get with somebody who they don't belong to you? They don't belong to you. And you're going to try to make it happen? Nobody likes to be manipulated. And then what happens? You tell them, you're on birth control, and then all of a sudden, voila, the baby came. It doesn't work that way. You're gonna ruin things for yourself because people know when they're manipulated. You must never compare yourself with others. Unhealthy comparison will create panic in your heart. See, what you fear the most comes upon you. Yeah, that part right there, Paula. That part right there. What you fear the most comes upon you. It's going to create panic in your heart. You're going to always feel that you're always got to be in competition with everybody in his life or her life. That's never going to work. It's never going to work because you're going to have fear deep down inside of your own heart because you're comparing yourself with somebody else. And when you compare yourself with other people, it's not going to work. Not a very intelligent decision that will not yield any good results. That's a good answer. It's not. It's not going to work. You must never compare yourself with others. Unhealthy comparison will create panic in your heart. What happens when you create panic in your own heart? Do you realize you're setting yourself up even for, God bless you, Cynthia, you're setting yourself up even for heart attacks? Because to have panic in your heart, you're affecting your own health. You're affecting your own immunity. You're affecting your own physicality. If you only marry out of comparison because you have a fear, well, like Job said, the thing I feared most came upon me. You make the decisions based upon fear. And as Yellow Beauty says, it's not intelligent. You have to be a thinker. See, one thing about the 40 marriages that must not hold, this allows you to think before you get married. 40 marriages, 40 experiences, 40 life stories are laid out before you so that you could make a reasonable decision. You're able to think clearly about what you really want in life. Yeah. Yeah. You have to be able to, so you want to think about things beforehand. There's a movie called Why Did I Get Married? And then there's a sequel, right? Why Did I Get Married? One, Why Did I Get Married? Part two. And in the part two, you've seen a couple they're about to get a divorce. They're in a horrible situation and they're about to be divorced. And this was the couple that everybody looked up to. You have to think about why you want to be married. Marriage is honorable and all, and the bed undefiled. For whoremongers and adulterers, God Himself is going to judge. He's going to judge that. You're going to have things that happen in your life that's going to be what you sowed, you're going to also reap. And you're going to have to deal with the consequences. It just happens that way. So, but if you make the decision out of pure panic, you're putting a lot of stress on your heart, a lot of anxiety in your life, in your soul, in your thinking. You're going to be anxious about everything. So that means whenever the person leaves to maybe go to the store, you're going to be thinking, are they going to be with that other person? God bless you. God bless you. You're going to be thinking, are they going to be with that other person? Oh, Shivana, are they going to be with the other person? You're going to be paranoid because you in your heart of hearts knew that you set something up out of panic. You didn't have the confidence within your own self because this was something idea in your mind based upon comparing and based upon your own fear. So it says, as a result of advancing in age or witnessing the marriages of many colleagues and family members, some people look for avenues to get married in panic. See, this is you're comparing your life with other people. That's one bad thing about social media. Social media, TV, you look at other people's marriages. And one of my little nieces, she put up a post and she said something to the effect, it was just like 2 days ago. She says, "This Jade, y'all really hate each other. You all post these things about your marriage, but you all really hate each other behind the scenes." There's a lot of things that people are putting out as idea. It is the same thing as watching. I mean, you're watching things that are just for show. It's just for show. Because true marriages, you're going to always have issues. See, and what God had joined together, let no man put asunder. But when people begin to marry out of panic, whether it be a man trying to marry the woman because he doesn't want her with anybody else, because maybe she's been with other people and he can see that other people want to be with her. And so he wants to marry her and demands the marriage or just takes her to the place to be married without even her knowing, all because he didn't want anybody else to have her. See, he's going to be in fear for the rest of his days. Anybody else that comes around, he's going to always be wondering if she's with somebody. You know why? Because they planted in their own heart. That was their own fear. It was not based on true love, and that love comes from the Father. And if it's not somebody that's in agreement with your life, that's not somebody for you. And somebody rushing you to do things or playing a lot of games with you, that's already a problem. If they're playing games and playing right in your face, and you always have to go to, because one thing about marriage, who would want to marry somebody that never really wanted to be married? And so here they are living a lifestyle as if they're single, but they're married. They don't want to share. They don't want to communicate. They don't, it's like that's why I talked about, I think it was last week, how dangerous dating is. Dating is not good because you're so used to breaking up, so used to being around, breaking up, seeing somebody with somebody else, but because they have no commitment to you, none whatsoever, not by the law or anything else, then, and just because you have a child by them does not make you the wife. So you go through all these problems with people, and here it is, that is going to affect your psyche. And then you're going to think that you have something in common with married people. No, you don't, because you've never been married. You've been dating. The only thing you have in common is that you had a relationship, but it was not marriage. Not marriage. You didn't have a vow that was spoken over you. You didn't have a minister speaking over you. You didn't have anything decreed saying, this is what I vow to do. You didn't have any of that. No, you just had a relationship and it was bad. So when you're used to dating, and I don't care if it's 20 years. I remember I worked at the Long Beach Police Department, and boy, reading all those domestic violence reports, I would always look at the stories, and when you would read the narratives, and they say, "Well, how long have the two of you been together in this union?" "Oh, we've been dating for 25 years." 25 years. And we have 6 children. I mean, that was so common over and over again. And here's the domestic violence relationships. And they're angry because they went over there to somebody else. They got caught or so many things. Now, again, when you are dating, you're not married, and you cannot compare your dating relationship with somebody that's married because that's two different things. Lorraine. Hey, Lorraine. Hey, Carolyn. Good to see you. That's two different things. So you're using your imagination. You're using your life. So you're using your way of life to try to fit it into biblical standard, and it's not. So you are already in the dark, and it's two entirely different things. So dating is pretty dangerous because it's almost like you're living in a place of fantasy land, fantasy. So here you are being a pretend wife. You're trying to move in with them, or you let them move in with you. You're cooking for them, cleaning for them. You're doing the things that a wife would usually do, but you're not even in a wife position. And as you do these things, you're hoping that um he would marry you. That's why I encourage my daughters, I'm saying, to talk about what your plans are before. Perfectly stated. Yes, you need to. You need to. Even your sons. Like, what do you expect out of a wife? So when you're living in a dating relationship, again, you cannot compare that to a marriage. It is not the same. And so if when you, like I said, when you have been dating, you've been dating multiple people, you've been in these relationships all these years, you bring that things into your marriage, and those words meant nothing to you when you stated your vows, because in your mind, remember, this is a panic marriage. So if you were in a panic marriage and you made all those vows before the person who married you, you're not even going to commit to those vows because you're going to be in a panic. And when you're in a panic, most of the time is because you're talking about worldly relationships, people who've been dating all the time, is I'm going to get you before you get me. They didn't appreciate you before you were with them, and they're not going to appreciate you afterwards. Yeah, that's good. Your sons too. So this is not idea, and it's not good. It's not good that man should be alone, but it's not good for the woman to be abused and giving all of the marital duty. He doesn't get that. He doesn't even get to spend a night over your house. He doesn't even get to touch you. You hear me? He don't even get to touch you. He don't get to, none of that. Don't give him anything. Just a friendship. That's it. Don't give him nothing. What you saying? People think I'm crazy for saying I have not been in a relationship in almost 20 years and not too quick to consider dating. See, I'm sure they are because of the time that we're living in. Yellow beauty people find it strange. A lot of them never become that person's wife. Yep, he ends up married to someone else, and you're left messed up. That's right, Cynthia. So why would you do all of that? You got the kids, and then here's the thing. Check this out. Okay, so you have these children, and you can even name your child if you had a son, calling them Junior, whatever, right? Um, but when that person actually gets married and they're marrying somebody, truly marrying them, and they're saying for better, for worse, and that other person didn't touch them. Here's the thing. Let me throw this out at you. You will have men, let me speak to the ladies. You will have men who will receive all of your care and your love that you've given them as a pretend wife, because you're not the wife. You're not a wife. You're not their wife. And when they find somebody else who didn't do any of that, they didn't sleep with them or any of that, you know what they'll do to you? They'll come to you and say, I'm with them, but they waited 8 months before we done anything. And with you, it was real quick. So it's like they're trying to shame you to make you feel bad about yourself, while at the same time they're using trickery to have a door open to come back to you. Because they just made you feel bad about yourself. You're just finding out what happened. But at the same time, they place trickery in you by saying that, but you, this is the comparison, right? But you didn't wait that long. And what that does is it now puts in a piece inside of you, a key to open up the door to comparison. And now you're going to start competing against the other female. So you're going to have the disputes, you're going to fight, you're going to do all this kind of stuff because he made the other one sound better than you. See, we're talking about panic marriage. This is based on comparison, competition. And this will cause you to do anything to get that person back, especially when you have children by them, or you had an idea that you would be that person. So then you start going to go see psychics, you start doing everything you can to try to win them back. All of it you try to do to win them back. Because you think that this is worth it. You think you spent your 25 years with the person, and you think you worked so hard to be with this person. You sacrificed so much to be with this person out of all these years and all these children, right? And none of that matters. As Carolyn's saying, it doesn't matter if you have a job. It doesn't matter if you have kids. It doesn't make them obligated to stay with you. It does not they don't owe you. They owe you nothing. They walk right on away. And then what happens? Then here you are, you mad, you are angry, and now you want to go file child support now. Because now you're on the payback mode. Now it's penalty. Just think about how this works out. It's penalty. You want to make them pay. Now you're angry. And now you're going to make them pay. And you want them to not be happy with anybody, because your child support is going to make sure that if he marries that person, that they won't have any income. And if they have children, you'll still get the money. So in all, then you still have a piece dealing with them and trying to make his life miserable, because you're burnt out because of what happened to you, because you want him to pay. You're stressed. You're fighting. God bless you, Mom. You're fighting. You're angry. But see, panic marriage, you never compare yourself with anybody else. You never compete with anybody else. If they want somebody, just go away. Go, let them go. Let him or her go. It's not worth it. It's not worth it, because again, if it's based upon comparison, based upon this person, do I be with this one or that one? You have multiple persons to choose, and then you choose which one, and then you're comparing and they're fighting. It's not going to be worth it. It's not going to be worth it to your children. Not going to be worth it to your life, to your health. There's somebody for you. There's somebody that is meant to be with you, and you don't have to sit under anything like that at all. Okay? So you can do all these things to try to be with a person, but it's not going to work. What does that mean? It's not going to work. You're not going to be in a fulfilled relationship. God bless you, daughter. It's not going to be fulfilling. So it says panic marriage does not work. When you get married, the panic will disappear and reality will stare you in the face. Whatever made you panic will fizzle out soon, and the problems of marriage will mount up. Whatever is done in panic in the area of marriage will attract problems that are monumental. Okay, this is again marriage number 31, the panic marriage. So whatever you're trying to do, the real life is going to step in. So when real life steps in, everything that you so what did you say, Carolyn? Yeah, let them go, choose your peace. It's not going to be worth it. It's not going to be worth it. Okay? Marriage is serious. So the Bible says, "Be still and know that I'm God." When your faith and confidence in God is strong, you will never get into satanic panic. See, that's satanic. You're being set up. The devil comes to steal, to kill, and to destroy. And Satan is the accuser of the brethren. Okay? Satan likes to usurp a throne. Satan. So you're going to give into satanic panic, and it's going to keep you going back and forth. You're both going to end up being rivals in the home. Bachelors and spinsters have resorted to the use of ugly methods to contract panic marriage. But marriage is such a serious issue that it should never be done in a panic. If you copy what others are doing, you will discover that the satisfaction you thought you may get is nowhere in sight. The fact that, the fact that your mates are married does not mean that they are happily married. So again, you're comparing your life with your brothers, your sisters. Just because they're married does not mean that they're happily married. In fact, some married ladies and men often envy single ladies or men. So, you heard it being said that some people are running to marriage and some people are trying to run out. Some people are running to get married, rushing to hurry up and get married. Some people are hurrying to rush out and get out and get divorced. They don't want to be in that at all. So you got the two ways that are happening. Marriage is serious business. This is not anything to take lightly. It's a whole lot of work. You don't need the panic as your base. That's your foundation. So if your foundation for your marriage is based upon comparison and competition, that's your foundation. That's not a solid foundation. Anything that's not solid is going to fall. That's sand. You're building your house on sand. So what happens? The storms come. Things happen in life. And it's gonna be destroyed because it's not built on anything that's foundational, anything solid. Because your whole relationship was based on competition. Your whole relationship was based on fear of other people getting married and you're not. So if you copy what others are doing, you will discover that the satisfaction you thought you may get is nowhere in sight. The fact that your mates are married does not mean that they're happily married. In fact, some married ladies and men often envy single ladies or men. Some of them wish they could exchange position with the unmarried. You know that there's a lot of marriages where the people are just like I heard the term married but single. Now we know that that's an oxymoron. That there's no way you can be married and single, but married. Pastor Charlene Singleton, I remember I went to her conference one year, and that's when she was speaking about the single married woman. Talked about all the different marriages, but Charlene Singleton talked about the single married woman, and she was saying some of you don't even like your husbands. It was really funny how she was saying it, but this is where she was. She's because sometimes your marriages are not what you thought it would be. Okay, you didn't think it was going to be like that, and you're only doing it to keep up with other people. So some of them want to exchange their positions. They're saying, "Boy, if I wasn't married, I'll be able to do this. I'll be able to do that. I'll be able to do all kinds of things if I was not married." Right? If you now allow yourself to be thrown into a panic, you will discover that as soon as you get married, you will not find the euphoria, the excitement, or the El Dorado which you anticipated. Panic marriage will always produce pain. It will breed inner turmoil. What you rush to do in a panic will leave you unfulfilled. The moment some people declare, I do at the marriage altar, oh, just think about that. Hold on. This is an altar. This is an altar. You were at an altar. Hold on. You're at an altar. So if you're at an altar and panic is there, well, this is not a holy altar or a holy wedding. You're at the marriage altar. A place that, do you know what's at altars? What are at altars? If we were to look at the tabernacle, you've seen that there was the brazen altar where the sacrifices were received. Okay. You received it there. The priest had to receive it there. Then you have an altar of incense where prayers are being made. And the incense, the smoke of the incense is going up into heaven. So you have two altars. Okay. So you have one in the outer court. You have one in the inner court. You have one right at the door. We're talking about an altar. In the holy place was the altar of incense, the table of showbread. It was the candlestick, the 7 golden candlesticks there. And the priests would be the ones working in the holy place. But behind the holy place was the holiest of all, or the holy of holies. And behind that is where the Ark of the Covenant was. The cherubim surrounded the seat of mercy, the mercy seat. Only the high priest can go in and sprinkle the blood that was at the covenant, that was over at the altar of incense, the brazen altar where the offerings were brought in. That blood had to be put back there so it could be sprinkled on the mercy seat. If you're at an altar of marriage and you think about the altars, listen here. You think about the altars. You have angels that are there watching over it all. The blood on the altar, the blood that sprinkles on the mercy seat. Remember, it was the Lord who had the fire that would come down from heaven to receive it all. He would have to be the one to accept it. Oh, we getting somewhere here. Now listen. He would have to accept it. So when you look at your life and you know that you're a temple of the Holy Spirit, and again, we're talking about the altar of marriage here. You're at an altar. Not only do you have priests assigned, you have priests assigned. You have workers assigned to you. Listen. You have mercy being shown to you. You have angels at work. And you have a God that is supposed to be over your marriage. Listen here. So if you're not married, if you're not married and you're pretending to be, that's going to work as a curse to you. Something's at the altar, but you out of line, and then you have curses placed upon your life because it's not in the order of things. There's no covenant agreement. Altar of marriage. Now, when a husband and wife come together that are of the Lord, okay, God says marriage is honorable in all. and the bed undefiled. For whoremongers and adulterers, the Lord will judge. Because marriage is God's idea. It's his idea. It was from the beginning. That's how it was at the beginning. In the beginning, there was no divorce. It was not heard of. It was not so. But because of the hardness of the heart, he allowed a bill of divorcement to happen. Okay. But in the beginning, it was not so. So what are you asking? What kind of smell is going to, what? There you go. So if you have this in a marriage, remember you have angels assigned. You have priests assigned. You have workers assigned. All these assigned within your marriage. So it's not just really, it's a, okay, what are you doing? So the male and the female are coming together for this marriage. However, no, come down. However, you have angelic forces at work. So when we listen here. Now listen here. Okay. Again, so we're talking about competition, right? And if we're dealing with somebody else that was with the other person that was before you, and here you are coming to this altar of marriage, who's fighting against the altar of the marriage? If you had a covenant with somebody else and they were at the altar of marriage, and then here you are in another altar of marriage, did you cancel the first one in the spirit? Did you cancel it? Because you still have other workers at work trying to keep this one here together. Well, God is joining together that no man put asunder. So you have spiritual forces at work, and they're working in all kinds of directions, because now you have two things at work here. You have two battles going on. And I have seen time and time again, marriages, the second marriages, the third marriages, I've seen time and time again issues that are coming because of the altar is still crying out. Oh, hold on. I just said a whole mouthpiece right there. The altars are still crying out because it said there's a vow over here. There's a vow over here. There's a vow over here. If you don't deal with the things that were at the previous altar, destroy that altar to start anew, you're going to have problems because the altar of that marriage is crying out. Listen to what I'm saying. I don't care what the issues were in the previous marriage. I don't care what it was. If that first altar, the spiritual altar, was not destroyed, you're going to have problems. Okay? So listen, if you copy what others are doing, you will discover that the satisfaction you thought you may get is nowhere in sight. If you allow yourself to be thrown into a panic, you will discover that as soon as you get married, you will not find the euphoria, the excitement, or listen, let me go back. Or the Eldorado which you anticipated. The moment some people declare I do at the marriage altar, they go back home feeling guilty and wondering why they took such a step out of panic. When you've made that decision out of panic, you leave that place, no matter all the cheer, you're like, what did I just do? There's nothing that can be described as out of this world in marriage except what is put in a marriage by God and through the efforts of serious partners. There's nothing that can be described as out of this world in marriage except what is put in a marriage by God and through the efforts of serious partners. So they have to be as serious with you about marriage as you are. But if there's previous altars crying out, if there's other altars that are crying out, you got a problem. That means there are, like the Lord's temple has his holy angels that are there and they're on assignment. The prayers are being lifted and they're at work. You know, as you pray, the angels are listening and they're at work. The incense comes before the altar of the Lord in the holies of holies, up in the glory. Well, just imagine if it was a demonic altar, satanic panic, a satanic marriage. Then those fallen ones are fighting your marriage. I'm going to say that again. Those fallen angels are fighting your marriage. The lion spirit is coming to fight your marriage. You know, like that one that came down that Micaiah had saw in the meeting, the God's meeting, and one said, I'll be a lion spirit in the mouth of all these. You'll have a lion one come down. You'll have a confusion one come down. You'll have all kinds of things trying to work against this. Marriage is for serious people who are serious about marriage, especially if you know now what you know. If you know now, more now than what you did back then. If you've ever been in a marriage, that thing needs to be canceled. That old altar has to be destroyed, and all the vessels and everything that went along with it. Marriage in itself cannot make you happy. Avoid panic measures. Avoid such a marriage. Such a marriage should not hold. Again, this is for people to think when you are about to get married. You have to think about all these things. Be careful. You have to be a thinker in this time. These are questions. So if you are marriage, you are the marriage person number 2, or number 3, or number 4. There are previous altars that got to be destroyed. Because otherwise, you have a host of angelic forces, whether fallen or whether the ones that come from the Lord God himself. They're coming and they are feuding over a union. Because marriage is honorable in all, and the bed undefiled. So it's going to come to shake it up, to see really what you have in the marriage. It's going to shake it up. If you are in a panic marriage, worried about what other people think, worried about what other people say, wondering, listen, if you are in a marriage now and you know there's issues like this, you got to break the other altar. You got to break it. You got to destroy it. And you destroy it in prayer. You have to destroy it in prayer. You have to ask the angels of the Lord to go and find that altar in the spirit. And let it be destroyed. If it's illegal, if it's legal, you gotta go through some legalities. In addition, you may have to go into the courts of the Lord. Because if there is a problem within your household because of previous marital altars, you're going to have to go before the courts of the Lord. Because as a judge on the earth has to approve a disannulment of marriage, a dissolution of marriage, well, the heavens have to have a dissolution of marriage. Because as in heaven, so on the earth. Now, we know that when we go to glory, there's no marriages up there. There's not going to be any marriage except the marriage supper of the Lamb. But what you're doing on this earth while you're alive and while you're going to the natural courts, you better go to the court of the Lord for this stuff. Because otherwise, you're going to keep having problems. But you're going to have to go to the courts of the Lord to get that taken care of. Marriage number 31, the panic marriage. Think about what you're doing. Don't compete against anybody. Don't compete. Don't let anybody talk you into marrying somebody. Don't let anybody approve. Don't do it. Don't do it. Like with Yellow Beauty. Hey, people looking at you strange because you haven't been married over 20 years. Don't let anybody push you into that. Marriage is honorable and it's beautiful. You're waiting for a spouse. Ask God. Let him lead you. Let him help you. let him be the one. But just know for a certainty that either way, the enemy always wants to destroy what God have set in his mind, and that is marriage. He set that in his mind. And with that being said, in California, do you realize that on the ballot, one of the measures consists of having you vote on amending the Constitution of California for the marriage to no longer read marriage should be between a man and a woman. See, people worried about just the president. No, it's state measure number 3. Constitutional right to marriage. Legislative constitutional amendment amends California Constitution to recognize fundamental right to marry, regardless of sex or race. Removes language in California Constitution stating that marriage is only between a man and a woman. They want to take that out. They don't want it to say between a man and a woman anymore. That's something for you to vote on. Measure 3. Yes or no? What a time we're living in. So the enemy literally hates God's way of doing things. Keep waiting on God's timing. But if you're already married, break the other marriage altar. Break it. Destroy it. You were married before and it wasn't broken in the spirit and you're divorced, break it. Break it. Destroy it. Okay. All right, it's 9:51. This is going to end our time for tonight. That was marriage number 31. Number 32 is next week, the medicinal marriage. Oh boy, that's going to be interesting. Okay, so marriage number 32 will be on next week. Thank you for joining me tonight. This is Thursday Night Live at 9. I am Apostle Hellena Horsley, and boy, this was fun. I'm going to have to be digging a little bit more into some things because I got to look at these altars of marriage because this stuff coming up tonight. Some things you hear for the first time as you teach. But anyway, to God be the glory, and we'll see you all on next week. Thank you so much for joining me. Why don't you share the broadcast? I hope it helps somebody.